and welcome to UELtras on Ranks FC, the show that talks you through Europe's most exciting club competition, the Europa League, where just 2 teams remain. I'm Jack Collins and I'm here to look at what promises to be another incredible finale to what has been another sensational season in the Europa League. It's Eintracht Frankfurt of Germany versus Rangers of Scotland. It's the big one in Seville. 2 differing paths here, but each from at least the group stage of the competition. Again, the Europa League only treats you with respect if you treat it with respect. This will be the 8th time in 11 years that the Europa League has been won by a team who started in its own group stage, which I think is a phenomenal statistic, knowing how many teams and the caliber and the quality of those teams that drops down from the Champions League into the Europa League. Let's start with Eintracht. They are the designated home team for this final. They're unbeaten in this entire competition. They top their group. They have not lost in 90 minutes throughout this tournament. They beat Fenerbahce, Antwerp and Olympiacos to finish top of their group. 1-3, drew 3. 2 of the wins came away from home though, and we'll come on to why that's significant a little bit later on. Then they've come through Betis, Barcelona and West Ham in the knockout stages. That is a difficult path. It took a last-minute own goal to see off a spirited Betis side, but it was the performance, I think, at Camp Nou that against Barcelona that really got people talking. Not only did 30,000 Frankfurt fans descend on Barcelona and take over the stadium itself, but the team responded, racing into a 3-0 lead against a side who were in scintillating form themselves. Now, Barcelona got 2 back. It did get a wee bit nervy towards the end, but it was a little bit too little too late, and Frankfurt were deserved winners in that tie. But note again, then all 3 of these ties, Frankfurt won the away leg. Rangers have had a little bit more of a roller coaster ride to get to this point, which is impressive in itself. After they lost their first 2 matches in the groups to Lyon and Sparta Prague, many tipped them to drop down to the Conference League or indeed out of European competition altogether. But they got 8 points from their next 4 games. That proved enough to finish second to Lyon and to make that playoff round. There, they met Borussia Dortmund, and once again, everybody said, well, that's that for Rangers. They were out 150-1, I think, at that point to win this competition. But they eviscerated Borussia Dortmund 4-2 away from home in front of the yellow wall, albeit not a full yellow wall, but still, in a stunning first leg performance. Then they saw off the tie reasonably comfortably with a 2-2 draw at Ibrox. A first leg thumping helped them past Red Star. They turned things around to beat Braga 3-2 after extra time in the quarters, and then they repeated that scoreline against Leipzig. Let's come on to the semi-finals though and take a look at these second legs in particular and how these teams made it to the final. We'll start with Rangers here. They won 3-2 against Leipzig, as we said, on aggregate. Another stunning turnaround from Rangers at Ibrox. Knocked out the favourites in the last 4. Angelino's glorious volley had put Leipzig into the lead in East Germany in the first leg. It was a relatively one-sided affair, but Rangers defended stoutly. And I think a lot of people, including myself, thought that was enough, that Leipzig would probably do the business away from home. And Rangers have proved everybody wrong yet again in this competition. I think what was so impressive about this second leg, which they eventually won 3-1, was not just this fast start. We've seen this before, right? We saw it against Braga, James Tavernier coming up big in the first 10 minutes or so in order to give Rangers the lead, and then for them to double it in quick succession. Now in Braga, that second goal got ruled out for Rangers, but eventually they went on to win the tie in extra time. But actually, what was really, really impressive about this one was the fact that, Rangers not only played brilliantly in the first half and brought it to Leipzig, and Domenico Tedesco, Leipzig manager, came out and said that Leipzig looked a little bit rattled by the atmosphere, and considering how impressive it's been, you're not surprised by that whatsoever. But he said that was an excuse for the first 10 minutes and no longer. And ultimately what then happened was that Rangers sat back, they played on the counter, they allowed Leipzig to come at them, and they basically forced them to try and square into the middle for no real gain. And ultimately, Rangers came for this. Then Leipzig do score, and finally a period of sustained pressure pays. Christopher Nkunku, their star man this season, just won Bundesliga Player of the Season, scores a glorious volley again, and it's 2-1. The tie is level, and it looks like Leipzig are in the ascendancy. But Rangers turn it back round again, and perhaps that's what's really, really important here, is that heart, that spirit, and what was a really emotional occasion at Ibrox. Rangers long-term kitman Jimmy Bell had passed away earlier in the week. We saw the Rangers players all with black armbands. Glenn Kamara, after scoring the goal that had put Rangers into the lead, took off his armband and kissed it as he came to the fans. And we saw James Tavernier and John Lundstrom in the interviews afterwards speaking about how much it meant to them to win that game for Jimmy Bell. And so there's that to kind of play into things. But also the fact that this Rangers side do not know when they're beaten in Europe. And yes, you can point at the league campaign and say that things have not gone to plan, but ultimately you can do that for both sides in this final. And I think that what we've seen from Rangers in Europe is a side that is stout, is smart, it knows how to win knockout games, is able to sit back, take on pressure, is able to relieve the pressure with the likes of Ryan Kent running and being able to play in transition and to hurt teams where, when they're not expecting it. Those first 10 minutes, as we said, at Ibrox have been so crucial for Rangers in so many games. This feeling around the ground, the atmosphere, and playing on that atmosphere, absolutely incredible. But an amazing win against the team who were considered favourites in that last four by pretty much everybody. And that 1-0 win in Leipzig, we thought, okay, Leipzig have they've been a little bit profligate here, and Kunku in particular, but they've got the lead and they should be able to see this out. Rangers absolutely flattened that, and I don't think anybody's going to be writing them off anymore. You come on to the Frankfurt game, and things were a little bit simpler. Obviously, took a 2-1 lead into the home leg, which made things good in the first place. But ultimately, we've seen Frankfurt win away from home over and over and over again this season. What we weren't sure about was whether they could hold that off against what it was a very, very stern West Ham attack, as they've proved time and time again this season in their own ground, especially sitting a little bit deeper, whilst the crowd are trying to urge them on to go and win the game and get the job done. This was made easier by the fact that Aaron Cresswell brings down Jens Petter Horger quite soon into the game, and West Ham are down to 10. And pretty much straight after that, Ansgar Knauf comes down the middle and he sets up a goal for Rafael Santos Borre. Tie pretty much done. And, when you look at this, I think what's most impressive is Frankfurt's first leg performance. And the fact that they went to London Stadium, they scored, obviously, within seconds of the game starting, silence that incredible rendition of I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles, and then go on to concede and take the lead again. And they came out after half-time. Really, really impressive. Daichi Kamada, the best player on the pitch, sets up the goal, makes the whole move, plans it, instigates it, and then finishes it off. And I think maybe there was a kind of feeling amongst West Ham fans that they could go and get another amazing result as they had done in Lyon in the round before, but Frankfurt aren't Lyon. Frankfurt are a side built for these games who are, such a tight unit to get past, especially under Oliver Glasner, have become a real cup team, I think, this season. And harking back to those kind of Niko Kovac days at Frankfurt, it's been a really impressive result. But this 3-1 against West Ham felt relatively routine as soon as it was 11 versus 10. There were the occasional scary moments in the second half, but Frankfurt were willing to just sit back and let West Ham come at them. They weren't forcing their breaks. They weren't being like, we need to put this beyond doubt. West Ham had to score two. You'd imagine that if they had got one, maybe Frankfurt would have looked to push a little bit further onwards and set the tie beyond doubt. But with a 2-goal advantage, they were more than willing to tuck in. And so it proved. And here we have our final. So what does it mean? I mean, Rangers, it's their first European final in 14 years. Eintracht, their first European final in 42 years. These are, two teams who have given this competition everything from the outset, from those group stages. And look, it's a very, very important trophy to win. Frankfurt have only one European trophy in their history, the 1980 UEFA Cup, which they won. And they've only ever been in the Champions League. The last time they were in the Champions League was in 1960 when they lost in the final. They haven't been back since. That's 62 years ago. This win would bring them back into that competition for the first time in over half a decade. You look at Rangers, they only have one European trophy in their history as well, the 1982 Cup Winners' Cup. So we're looking here at two teams who are not blessed, whilst they are massive clubs. And when you look at this and you think these are two historically huge clubs with huge fan bases and vociferous, vocal fan bases who will follow their teams to the ends of the world, sure. But actually, in terms of European silverware, these aren't two clubs who are rich in that history. And actually, when you look at that and you look at the opportunity here to lift what was the UEFA Cup, what is now the Europa League, is a massive opportunity for both these clubs, especially because there's not huge amounts in the game, right? We're looking at a relatively level tie here, a game that ultimately is pretty much on a knife edge. I think it's been described in the German press as at eye level, which I thought was interesting. There is a German word for that, but I would butcher it, so I'm going to leave it out of it. But two teams who are looking each other in the face, who are staring each other down, who are ready for this fight. And it feels 50-50. Frankfurt are slight bookmakers' favourites, very, very slight, but there is not much in this. And I think that's why, at the moment, it feels so potent to both fan bases that this could be an absolutely miraculous night. Just a quick one on kit colours, because Eintracht are the nominal home team and they get the choice of kit colour. And if they were to play in their home black kits, we wouldn't have seen Rangers in their traditional blue. But Frankfurt have said they are going to wear their all-white third kits, which does mean the Rangers will be able to wear their blue, which is intriguing. But the reason they've done this, and I thought it was quite interesting, Frankfurt spokesman Axel Hellman has said that we've rocked this kit in Europe wearing the white kit. We've rocked it in Europe wearing the white kit. We've been called La Bestia Blanca, the White Beasts, so we simply have to play in white. Thank you to our old friend at Ranks FC, Derek Ray, for that translation as well. But I'm really intrigued by this because it is the kit that they wore at Barcelona. It is that kind of all-white thing. Lots of the fans were white in the stadium as well. I think we're going to see that kind of all-white Frankfurt vibe take over things in Seville. We're going to be seeing a lot of that colour, and I'm intrigued that they've played in that kit. Quick one on the fans. There's estimated that 80,000 Rangers fans have travelled to Seville and 50,000 Eintracht fans as well, which is ludicrous, considering that each side have got a roughly 10k allocation to Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. It's really intriguing, this, because there's lots of talk about the stadium. And look, these are two raucous, rampant fan bases, we say, starved of European success. In some ways, it's quite sad that it has been played at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, because it is a small stadium. They've both been given around a 9.5, 10k allocation to that. And it's real sad that more fans aren't going to be allowed into the stadium. But Sevilla are the kings of this tournament, and the venue does feel like a fitting one for a European final in the Europa League. And look, we come to it and you look at Eintracht fans, they've been given an area in the centre of Seville, for those not attending the game, where the slightly more numerous Rangers contingent is going to be allocated La Cartuja, which is Seville's third stadium, the one that is not allocated to either Betis or Sevilla, and the home of the Copa del Rey final, where Betis lifted that trophy a couple of weeks back. You're looking at these kind of things where, that is a great spot to watch the game. There's going to be an amazing fan area. I think the fact that fewer Eintracht fans have travelled is partly because the fact that Eintracht fans not in Seville have sold out their own stadium, the Waldstadion, for public viewing. And given the demand, there's been a further stadium or further viewing platform outside the stadium, out there. And I think this is intriguing as to why so many Rangers fans have travelled, because ultimately the club haven't put on a beamback. There's nothing at Ibrox. There's nothing been announced in Glasgow, which I think explains why. And quite a lot of the Rangers fan base I've seen on Twitter, quite vociferous about the fact that they're pretty upset with the club for not doing this. But I do think it makes sense for it to basically mean everybody is therefore going to travel. Whether that means good or bad things for the city of Seville, I don't know. But it does feel a bit strange that Rangers haven't organised their own thing in the way that Frankfurt have. We know that there's going to be quite a special occasion wherever these fans are watching it. Couple of key battles then, and I'm going to start on the flanks. Look, formations don't completely match up here, but I do think it's interesting the way they play. Look, Frankfurt play 3 at the back with 2 wing backs, and then they play 2 in the middle and a main striker with 2 players sitting off him. I think the key here is the wing backs, right? Because normally against Rangers, more traditional 4 at the back, you're going to see issues there in terms of how things match up. But the fact that James Tavernier plays so far forward, plays at such an attacking role from right back, means that this formation does tilt. And I think that if you look at it in the way that if Tavernier is going to play directly up against Filip Kostic, and therefore Ryan Kent plays a little bit more up against Ansgar Knauf, we have 2 really intriguing battles down the flanks. We'll look at Kent versus Knauf first. And look, these 2 players have been the difference makers in the knockout stages. Obviously, Kent's been brilliant throughout the tournament, but really stepped it up, I think, as the calibre and the quality of opposition rose in this tournament. And as Rangers started to play a little bit more on the back foot, Kent's skill in transition and ability to carry the ball has come right to the fore. Knauf joined in January from Borussia Dortmund to Eintracht Frankfurt. He's taken up that right wing-back spot as his own. He's got 2 goals and an assist in these knockout stages. But you look at where these goals came. the opening goal against Barcelona, the opening goal against West Ham, and then the assist to seal the tie against West Ham as well. Ryan Kent has a goal and 4 assists in the knockout stages. What I'm intrigued by here a little bit more is how Kent and Knauf play up against each other. What we saw in the Braga game, especially in the first leg, was that Braga doubled up on Ryan Kent in order to try and deal with his threat. Not only were they pushing really, really far forward with their right wing back, but also tucking that right centre back into the channel in order to deal with the threat of Kent coming the other way. Now, Knauf is going to go forward. This is how he plays. He's a winger converted. And I think it's going to be intriguing to see who pens who back here, because neither are known hugely for their defensive output. Their work rates are both brilliant. Let's put it that way. They both are more than willing workers. They're more than willing runners, but they're not ideal defensive components of a team. So whoever's going forward, whoever's in the ascendancy in that regard, is going to have a huge advantage in terms of getting away. Now, Knauf is rapid, Kent less so, but his skill and ability is absolutely unquestionable. So I think what's going to be really intriguing on that kind of Eintracht's right and Rangers' left, it's just who's pushing who where, because ultimately you want that player in the opposing half causing havoc, and if they're not, then things are going to be different. Eintracht will try and play in transition a little bit more. They will try and play a little bit more I would say in a counter-pressing manner. They're going to look at trying to win the ball up high and hurt Rangers in a way that perhaps they haven't been tested in yet. But I do think it's intriguing as to how that's going to pan out. On the other flank, you've got the two talismen, right? So Filip Kostic on Eintracht Frankfurt's left, and James Tavernier, the competition's top scorer and Rangers captain, at right back, nominally. And they're going to come up against each other. Kostic has 3 goals and 5 assists in the tournament, and Tavernier has 7 goals and 2 assists. Does take penalties, but so many of these are him popping up late in the box and striking when Rangers need him most. Now, what's intriguing here is, again, who pushes who into the right directions, because Kostic is a willing worker. He's a little bit tricky. He's a little bit of a devil. But ultimately, I think he possesses probably the best delivery in Germany. This is a player who is able to put the ball on a sixpence time and time and time again. And ultimately, a player who can create things out of nothing. He can go inside, he can go outside, he can take a man on, he can cut in and shoot. And he has this incredible delivery as well. He's also the man who's going to step up and take penalties for Frankfurt if they get one. So is Tavernier for Rangers, and his contributions cannot be overlooked. He's still saying he wants 3 more goals this campaign in order to overtake Alfredo Morelos as Rangers' top scorer this season. Now, I think that's probably unlikely, but he has given such a threat in this competition where teams have just switched off and let him run in behind those spaces. And what's going to be here really intriguing here is, how they look to counter the threat that Tavernier offers. Now, Evan Ndika plays on the left-hand side of Frankfurt's back three. He is a wonderful athlete and a player who's able to cover those channels in such a way. He's a brilliant defender, and I think we've seen this season how important he can be to this Frankfurt side. I'm just kind of intrigued as to who marks who on that side. If Scott Wright ducks more inside, if he's the man who starts in that kind of right-hand role ahead of James Tavernier. But watch out for those overloads coming out on Evan Ndika if Filip Kostic is caught too far adventuring up the pitch. On the other hand, keep an eye on whether Tavernier can deal with the threat that Kostic offers, especially from those wide positions delivering. It's going to be really, really intriguing. At the end of the day, this is going to be an absolutely stunning contest. Rangers fans can take heart in the fact that they've already beaten the team second in the Bundesliga, who finished 4th in the Bundesliga, and ultimately they're now looking at a team comfortably mid-table in the Bundesliga. But they'd be fools to write off Eintracht Frankfurt. This is a side developed for cup competitions who are going to pose a very different threat to the teams they've played so far. Frankfurt are more than happy to sit back and let the game come to them, to play on the break, to play in transition, the way that Rangers have played against sides in this competition so far. We've seen Kent in transition. We've seen Tavernier popping up late. These are the opportunities that have availed themselves to Rangers thus far. What I think they're going to come up against in Eintracht is a team who play very similarly, who are happy to let their opponents have the ball, who are happy to let things happen. However, I'm not willing to write Rangers off anymore. I think this is on a knife edge. I'm not predicting a game that has a winner. I'm not going to sit there and predict it. I think you'd be a fool to. This is so tight. What I am predicting though is a slightly cagey affair where both teams kind of let each other have it for a little while and then take it back and have their own go. But actually in the second half, this is where this opens out, where the transitions start to stretch, where the game starts to spread out. And ultimately, it looks like whoever gets the best of that second half, I think is going to be the team who comes out on top of this. Whoever wins those battles down the flanks. If Rangers can deal with that middle threat of Daichi Kamada dropping between the lines, that's going to be absolutely massive. But if Frankfurt can deal with Rangers' aerial threat from set pieces, the fact that they caused so much damage to teams earlier in the season, especially at the start of these knockout stages from those areas, this is where the teams can hurt each other. Can't wait for this final. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for watching today's UELtras, the last episode on the Europa League for this season. There will be one more on the Europa Conference League final next week. This is Ranks FC. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'd really love so. We're going to be putting out loads of stuff over here on the summer. We're going to be looking at transfers. We're going to be looking at the way teams are lining up for next season and doing plenty of different things around the channel. And also there's UELtras back next season. I've been Jack Collins. Thank you so much for watching. Take it easy.